Conditions come along, success is irreversible. It's inevitable. Success simply will find its way.
For all the events you go to, you will seldom see the golden key presented. Today you will see the golden key presented to you, Your Holiness.
I've seen 4 keys to the city given out in my 12 years as a city council member, and this is a very special honor indeed that is reserved for the most special of visitors.
This hand shook the hand of His Holiness. I was just thrilled.
Today, this man, Mirza Masroor Ahmad, worldwide head of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community, is the Caliph of Islam. His followers number in the tens of millions, spread over 200 countries across the world, making him the leader of the largest single group of Muslims in the world who follow one Imam. The Caliph, who has spoken at Capitol Hill, the British Parliament, the European Parliament, and has held court with dozens of world leaders, is celebrated as a champion of peace by leaders across the world.
In this we are allied with His Holiness, a courageous champion of religious freedom and of peace. We especially applaud the Caliphate for denouncing those who pervert faith by claiming it as a justification for violence. However we define God, it is wrong to kill in His name.
Today, when we, the Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamaat, raise the slogan of love for all and hatred for none as a means to establish global peace, we do so directly in fulfillment of the teachings of the Holy Quran and the practice of the Holy Prophet, peace and blessing of Allah be upon him. I will, God willing, always continue to carry out my task and my responsibilities of promoting peace, tolerance, justice, and compassion to the corners of the world. I will continue to tell all people that in order to be relieved of the pain and suffering that we face today, we must adopt true justice and equality.
Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. This is an announcement. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. It's an announcement for the students of camp that as soon as this event is over, please make your way downstairs to the basement with your leaders. And as you're sitting here, please take your jackets off and show your colors. Jazakallah.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Maliki yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu.
Assalamu alaikum, Qasim Rashid. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Maliki yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'een.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Jazakallah Sarmat Sahib to start this introduction, because I was thinking of how to do the audio test. Sarmat Sahib is here, who is a pro for MTA recording. So he helped me a lot in this regard. So Jazakallah once again. I can keep on talking until you say good to go. Jazakallah.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Maliki yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'een. Ihdina as-siratal mustaqim. Siratal lazina an'amta alayhim. Ghayril maghdubi alayhim waladdallin.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Maliki yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'een. Ihdina as-siratal mustaqim. Siratal lazina an'amta alayhim. Ghayril maghdubi alayhim waladdallin. Amin.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We're about to start.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim.
Next, I need a random volunteer from the audience.
Alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim.
Okay, that's good. I'm just going to come up and give some pointers to the audience. So for everybody that's coming up to ask a question, I ask that you line up behind the stop. So don't come further, otherwise you're going to have to. So I know in the heat of the moment people sometimes forget, but please try to remember this rule. If you have a question, stop behind the stop sign. The next thing is everybody that has a cell phone, I'm going to ask everybody to take it out right now, regardless of whether it's on silent or not. So everybody take your cell phones out. I don't see a lot of people taking them out. Were they confiscated at the Tabiti camp? Okay, so if you took your cell phone out, put it on silent, please. Again, this is an MTA program, so it's getting recorded, and we only have one shot. We can't do this again, so please turn your cell phone off. Jazakallah.
so am I going to see it go over there on the screen? Am I going to see it go in the screen, or someone's going to yell at me? Or
I'm going to yell at you when we're ready to go.
Okay. All right.
One more reminder for everybody, there are hidden cameras that are capturing audience shots, so try to pay attention.
Tahir, is it fine now? Okay, is it fine? It's fine? Guys, please sit down. It's fine? No?
Who's going to introduce the video after Qasim Rashid?
You will.
So you're going to come back up and you're going to introduce Qasim?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, then when he leaves, then I'll come back and do a little speech before the video. Yeah.
So I'm going to ask everyone to quiet down again.
Right.
But when we start, you're going to stand off to the side, okay? Like, off to the side. And I'm going to give you, when I say go, at your leisure, walk towards the circle and start speaking.
Okay. On this side.
Wherever you want. Okay? So when I say go, you're out of frame, and you walk into the frame, and then you come to the center, and then you start speaking.
Then I invite Salasam.
You invite the panel, and then Salasam will introduce the
When I invite Salasam, you start first.
Before your introduction, don't step in front of the microphone. So stand like over here.
Speak in this.
You speak into that.
But for just you can pull it, man.
Stand to the side of it.
No, leave that there, leave that there.
And then stand right there, and you're ready to go as soon as you come in.
Okay.
Cool? Assalamualaikum. We will be starting the program in 1 minute, so complete silence from here on. Thank you. Okay, we're going to start in 30 seconds. We're just dealing with some remote cities. We just need a few more seconds.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Before we begin, we have University of Edmonton and University of Calgary on the line. And now I would also like to invite Khuddamul Ahmadiyya and respected Maulana Mubarak Nazir Sahib to the stage, and also our respected speakers for the night to the stage. Please take your seats.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. We'll start the program with tilawat. I request Hamd Ahmed Sahib for tilawat.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. واعتصموا بحبل الله جميعا ولا تفرقوا واذكروا نعمة الله عليكم إذ كنتم أعداء فألف بين قلوبكم فأصبحتم بنعمته إخوانا وكنتم على شفا حفرة من النار فأنقذكم منها كذلك يبين الله لكم آياته لعلكم تهتدون
Jazakumullah. English translation by Tahir Ahmed Mazhar Sahib.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. I will now present the English translation of the verse just recited, taken from Surah Al Imran, chapter 3, verse 104 of the Holy Quran. I seek refuge with Allah from Satan, the accursed. In the name of Allah, ever gracious, ever merciful. And hold fast all together by the rope of Allah, and be not divided. And remember the favor of Allah, which He bestowed upon you when you were enemies, and He united your hearts in love, so that by His grace you became as brothers. And you were on the brink of a pit of fire, and He saved you from it. Thus does Allah explain to you His commandments, so that you may be guided. Jazakallah.
Urdu translation by Shahmir Wadaj Sahib.
अस्सलामु अलैकुम वरहमतुल्लाहि वबरकातुहू। अभी सूरह आल इमरान आयत नंबर 104 की तिलावत की गई है। इसका उर्दू तर्जमा पेश खिदमत है। अल्लाह के नाम के साथ जो बे इंतहा रहम करने वाला, बिन मांगे देने वाला और बार बार रहम करने वाला है। और अल्लाह की रस्सी को सब के सब मजबूती से पकड़ लो और तफरका ना करो, और अपने ऊपर अल्लाह की नेमत को याद करो कि जब तुम एक दूसरे के दुश्मन थे तो उसने तुम्हारे दिलों को आपस में बांध दिया, और फिर उसकी नेमत से तुम भाई भाई हो गए, और तुम आग के गड्ढे के किनारे पर खड़े थे तो उसने तुम्हें उससे बचा लिया। इसी तरह अल्लाह तुम्हारे लिए अपनी आयात खोल खोल कर बयान करता है ताकि शायद तुम हिदायत पा जाओ। जज़ाकल्लाह।
Jazakumullah. Please stand up for the pledge. Ashhadu la ilaha illallahu wahdahu la sharika lahu wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu. Ashhadu la ilaha illallahu wahdahu la sharika lahu wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu. Ashhadu la ilaha illallahu wahdahu la sharika lahu wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu. I bear witness that there is none worthy of worship except Allah. He is one and has no partner. And I also bear witness that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is his servant and his messenger. I solemnly pledge that I shall always be ready to sacrifice my life, wealth, time, and honor for the sake of my faith, country, and nation. Likewise, I shall be ready to offer any sacrifice for guarding the institution of Khilafat-e Ahmadiyya. Moreover, I shall deem it essential to abide by any maroof decision made by Khalifatul Masih. Inshallah. Please be seated. Now the next in the program is Qasida by Murtaz Riyaz Sahib and Adil Ahmed Sahib.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. The following poem was written by the promised Messiah alayhi salatu wasalam in praise of his holy master, the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. يا عين فيض الله والعرفان يسعى إليك الخلق كالظمآن يا عين فيض الله والعرفان يسعى إليك الخلق كالظمآن يا بحر فضل المنعم المنان يا بحر فضل المنعم المنان تهوي إليك الزمار بالكيزان يا ربي صل لي على نبيك دائما في هذه الدنيا وبعث ثاني لا شك أن محمدا خير الورى لا شك أن محمدا خير الورى ريك الكرام ونخبة الأعيان يا ربي صل لي على نبيك دائما في هذه الدنيا وبعث ثاني والله إن محمدا كردافة والله إن محمدا كردافة وبه الوصول بسدة السلطان يا ربي صل لي على نبيك دائما في هذه الدنيا وبعث ثاني يا سيدي قد جئت بابك لاهفا يا سيدي قد جئت بابك لاهفا والقوم بالإكفار قد آذاني يا ربي صل لي على نبيك دائما في هذه الدنيا وبعث ثاني جسمي يطير إليك من شوق على جسمي يطير إليك من شوق على يا ليتك كانت قوة الطيران يا ربي صل لي على نبيك دائما في هذه الدنيا وبعث ثاني في هذه الدنيا وبعث ثاني في هذه الدنيا وبعث ثاني.
Ahsan al-Jaza. English translation by Saad Ahmed Wadaid Sahib.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Now present the English translation of the Qasida just recited. O you who are the fountain of Allah's beneficence and divine understanding, people throng towards you like the thirsty rushing towards water. O you who are the ocean of the grace of the benefactor and bountiful God, people flock to you with empty cups in their hands. Without any doubt, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the best of the best, a man of extreme generosity, the soul and strength of the nobles, the elect among the elite. By God, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the vicegerent of God. and through him alone can one reach the royal court of God. O my Master, as I am oppressed, I have come to your door to seek redress. These people slander and torment me by calling me kafir, a non-believer. My body yearns to fly towards you out of love. Would that I had the power to fly. Jazakumullah.
Jazakumullah. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. My dear brothers, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. I welcome all of you on this annual program of Students' Talk. On this moment, I would like to share a few things with all of you. Allah Ta'ala says in the Holy Quran, إِذَا جَاءَ نَصْرُ اللَّهِ وَالْفَتْحُ, when the help of Allah comes and the victory. I would like for us to jump into the heart of my message by laying down the expectation from our beloved Imam, Hazrat Khalifatul Masih, Ayyadahullah Ta'ala bin Nasril Aziz, who relates that the minimum target for an Ahmadi researcher is the Nobel Prize. I am sure that all of us are well aware of the grand prestige and honor that comes with the Nobel Prize. But for those students and audience members that are unacquainted with this grand distinction, the Nobel Prize is the highest level of accomplishment individuals can achieve for their research and efforts in the sciences, medicine, literature, or peace efforts. It is a lifetime accomplishment given to individuals who changed the course of history in their respective fields. So, my dear brothers, this is the expectation of Amirul Mu'mineen for our Ahmadi youth. What I want to give you all today is a blueprint on exactly how we can achieve these expectations of our beloved Imam. The blueprint that I am going to give you is not complicated at all. As a matter of fact, it is very simple. Perhaps because of its simplicity, its effectiveness and power may times be overlooked. The blueprint consists of 3 items, and I will speak about these sequentially. These are, number 1, prayers. Number 2, the relationship with Khilafat. And number 3, trust in Allah Ta'ala. My dear brothers, the first step in this blueprint is prayers. We all need to understand that we are all extremely fortunate individuals. Look at the world today. How much restlessness and suffering there is. And I am not only speaking out the third world countries or areas with war, but also in our own backyard among our peers and colleagues. Statistics from the Canadian Mental Health Association states that 30% of Canadian youth, especially students, are suffering from a variety of depression and anxiety disorders. And by the time Canadians reach 40 years of age, 50% of them have suffered from at least some form of mental health disturbance. Can you imagine that? It is 50%. It may be hard to think that the individuals you may see in fancy suits and expensive cars, that half of them are really just suffering. So my dear brothers, Allah Ta'ala says in Holy Quran, the translation is, those who believe and whose hearts find comfort in the remembrance of Allah Ta'ala, it is in the remembrance of Allah Ta'ala that hearts can find comfort. Chapter 13, verse 29. The life of a student can be extremely difficult and stressful. I too was a student here in Canada, so I can relate with all of you. Some days, when the stress gets overwhelming, there are temptations to quit. Trust me, you are not alone. But what we have that others do not have, prayers. Prayers are our shield. They protect us from depression. They protect us from making the wrong decisions. They are the most direct means for us to attain the help of Allah Ta'ala. My dear brothers, do not doubt the power of prayers. They can bring you success from the unseen and equip you with the tools of success. You are all very fortunate that you are entitled to treasure chest of prayers that our beloved Imam, Hazrat Amirul Mu'mineen, has bequeathed for us. It is for us to decide whether or not we want to be the recipients of these prayers. The next step in our blueprint is the relationship with Khilafat. Allah Ta'ala says in the Holy Quran, and hold fast all together by the rope of Allah and be not divided. To explain the magnitude of influence that Khilafat can have on our success, I would like to share the example of an individual who simultaneously held two of the highest positions possible. He was both the president of the International Court of Justice and the president of the United Nations General Assembly. He was also a religious scholar and a very pious and meek individual who was also one of the champions of the promised Messiah. He was Hazrat Chaudhry Sir Muhammad Zafrullah Khan Sahib, Raziyallahu Ta'ala Anhu. If you read the biography of Chaudhry Sahib, you can see how much he valued both prayers and how he honored his allegiance with Khilafat and the sacrifices and service he made for the institution of Khilafat Ahmadiyya. So my dear brothers, the trend is very clear. He was extremely exemplary in his obedience to Khilafat. Despite being exemplary, high-ranking in the eyes of the world, his first priority was to satisfy the desires of his Imam. In fact, when asked about his career and how he was so successful, he stated that because I involved Khilafat in all of my career decisions. What can we learn from this example? That you should make sure to always be taking active part in Jamaat work while being involved in your studies and staying loyal to Khalifatul Masih. We have to remember that Nizam is a chain that starts with Amirul Mu'mineen and ends with either your Qaid Sahib or a Saik. Whenever they require your assistance, always be ready to help. It worked for Chaudhry Sahib, and I am positive it will work for you. My dear brothers, my last step in our blueprint is trust in Allah Ta'ala. Never think that you are inadequate or that you can't achieve the highest academic milestones. Never think you are inferior to anyone. By the grace of Allah, we have accepted the promised Messiah alayhi salam. And through his acceptance, we believe that our God is a living God. He speaks, he loves, he cares, he watches over you. So have your trust in him, be loyal to him, because he'll be loyal to you. He will give you that confidence to become the top scholars and leaders. He will equip you with the skills needed to become the greatest scholars in the world. If you think that your writing skills are inadequate, Hazrat Masih Maud alayhi salam says that your hands will become the hands of Allah Ta'ala. If you think you are not a good public speaker, he said that your voices become the voice of God. We believe in this living God. Remember, you are the youth of our Jamaat. Hazrat Muslim Maud Raziyallahu Ta'ala anhu states that nations cannot be reformed without the reformation of the youth. We are all counting on you to lead Jamaat in the next era. So please do not let us down. Jazakumullah ahsan al-jaza. Next section of our program is we have 3 speakers among us. So I request the host to introduce.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi everyone. I would like to request our respected Siddha Sahib to please take their seat and respected Maulana Sahib. Jazakallah. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. To those with us in Baitul Islam and to those with us watching live, I welcome you all to this exciting new edition of Students Talk 2017, an event and a platform for students to share their voice, to share ideas, a platform well needed to suit the need of time. As we find ourselves in a world so critical, where holding on to the rope of Allah has become extremely important, where it is time for us, the youth, to step in and bring about positive change, and to be very well able to live up to the great pledge in the words of Hazrat Musleh Maud: life, wealth, time, and honor. My friends, this is what tonight is about. Tonight we offer you that change to take a step further in our efforts in making this world a better place. We shall be hearing tonight from 3 speakers, 3 of them coming from different walks of life and sharing their unique experiences. Our first speaker is going to be Sarmad Naveed. Sarmad Naveed Saab is currently enrolled in Jamia, 5th-year student, and he is also a student of languages and theology. and he has also hosted a program on MTA called Roots to Branches. I would like to welcome Sarmad Naveed Saab to take the stage. Jazakallah.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. So the topic I've been given is we the youth. Now, every time someone asked me about my topic, I always said we the North. Just kept coming to my mind. So Qasim Saab gave me a good way to deal with that. I say we the youth of the North. So that's how I'm going to go about this. So they say we the youth. We the foundation, we the future. Almost in every Khuddam event that you've probably ever gone to, such as this one today, you've probably heard someone say at some point in time that you, the youth, are the future. You heard Sadr Saab just say it right now too. That you, as the Ahmadi youth, as Muslim youth, are the future of Islam. You're the future of this faith, you're the future of this community, of this Jamaat. The burden lies on your shoulders. And as you hear these motivational words, all that goes through your mind is, man, when is this program ending? Because it's going on way too long. I didn't even want to come here. My guides have forced me to come. There isn't even pizza at the end. What am I doing here? But as you're sitting there and these words aren't resonating with you, the fact of the matter doesn't change. The truth is that the youth are the future, whether you like it or not. That's just the way things work. The youth of today become the leaders of tomorrow. But the youth don't just wake up one day and become the leaders. They care about something. They're passionate about something. They're proud of something. And they work towards that something, and that's how they become the leaders. So now let's take us, for instance. We're Muslim youth. And as Muslim youth, we're going to become leaders, right? But do we care about our Muslim identity? Are we passionate about the religion of Islam? Are we proud of the fact that we are Ahmadi Muslims? Now, there's something I want you all to ask yourselves in your minds. Are you able, when asked, to proudly say that, yes, I am a Muslim, regardless of the situation you're in, regardless of the fact that you might become the outcast in that situation? Are you able to proudly say, when asked by another non-Ahmadi Muslim, that yes, in fact, I am an Ahmadi, regardless of the fact that we are a minority in the Muslim world? Can you proudly say that? Can you proudly and passionately stand at the AMSA stall in your university, and as your peers and your fellow students and fellow friends walk by, talk to them about your faith? Because if you think of the faith, or if you think of being a Muslim as a burden on yourself, then how can we be expected, or how can the youth be expected to become the future leaders, right? If you're not passionate about it, then there's no way you're going to become the leader. But the common excuse, or the common thing that a lot of youth say, well, you know what, right now I need to focus on my education, right? I go to school, I need to make sure I'm doing well in school, right? I need to be successful in school so that I can get out of here and start a career, and then be successful in my career. And then as a result of that, have a successful life. Now the question I want to ask today is, which life do you want to be successful in? Now before I move forward, I want to kind of amend my topic a bit. We, the youth, right? That's the topic. Now youth can be anyone who's a teenager to their mid-20s, right? And the youth, they're passionate. They have goals. They set out to achieve those goals. They go to school. They get an education. Then they go into the workforce, have a career. And like I said, they aim to attain success, whatever that success may be to them. Now, what I want to add to the topic is we, the Ahmadi youth. Well, what's the difference? Well, as Ahmadi youth, we're just the same as any other youth in that we also go to school to get an education. We want to be successful in school. And then we want to have successful careers and have successful lives as well. And there's nothing wrong with that. But the difference between us and any other youth is that our success is not quantified by the wealth we have, by the car that we drive, or the house that we live in.
In fact, our success is quantified by a very special prayer, a prayer that all of us know. We read it in our salat every day, a prayer that has been taught by God the Almighty Himself. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanatan wa fil akhirati hasana. O our Lord, grant us good in this world as well as in the hereafter. Now, when explaining this verse, this prayer, Hazrat Muslim Maud Raziyallahu Ta'ala Anhu has said that good in this world is whatever will let you attain good in the hereafter. Good in this world is whatever will not hinder you from attaining good in the hereafter. Well, what does that mean to us? What that means is that now we have a higher goal than anybody else because we have more to live for than anybody else. Because when you're chasing after that success, and you as an Ahmadi youth become the CEO of the company that you've always wanted to become the CEO of, that's not your limit. Whereas for any other person, once they become the CEO, well, that's it. They've made it, right? But for us, we have something more worth living for. And that something more is everlasting success. Now, who doesn't want everlasting success? Right? Who doesn't want wealth that will stay with them even after they die? Who doesn't want a big house that they can live in even after they've left this world? And that's the difference, or that should be the difference, between Ahmadi youth and any other youth. Because once you come to the realization that you're living for something far greater than just this world, then everything else starts falling into place. That's when you get the passion for your faith. That's when you become proud of the fact that you're a Muslim and you're able to stand anywhere and proudly proclaim it. But let's say, okay, we have this passion, we have this pride. But, even still, right, in the society, it seems that everything goes against what we believe in as Muslims, right? When it comes to going out with our friends, when it comes to, partying with our friends, or whatever the case may be, right? There's always something involved that we as Muslims just can't do, right? And that becomes a kind of like a burden on us, right? We feel left out, we feel singled out. We feel that we are completely against the societal norm. Well, the thing is, you aren't the first people to have experienced this, or have thought this. I want to tell you a story, and I'm going to go back quite a few centuries for this story. There was a young boy, and his father had passed away before he had been born, so he was living with his uncle and his sons. Now, his uncle had a business, and that business was creating idols out of wood and then selling them. So the uncle, he would make the idols, and then he would send them to the shop where his sons, along with that young boy, would sell them. And this was the way of life. This is what everyone did. They would come to that shop, they would buy the idols, they would go home, and they would start worshiping them. So this young boy, he would be there, he would be helping out at the shop, but he had this feeling in his heart, he had this feeling in his mind that, there's something off here. When you're a kid and you don't really understand something? He didn't understand this whole concept. So one day he was at the shop with his cousins. And an elderly man, a very wealthy man, he came to buy an idol. He came to the shop, he said, "You know what, I want the best looking idol that you have." And so they gave him one. And he was about to pay for it and leave. But that day, that young boy had had enough. He was going to stand up for what he believed to be right in his heart. As that elderly man was about to pay for that idol, the young boy spoke up. He said, "Look, you're an old man. You're literally sitting at the edge of your grave. What are you going to do with that idol?" Now, the elderly man looked at him, and he was kind of shocked. He's like, "Well, it's obvious, isn't it? This is our way of life. I'm going to take it home. I'm going to clean up an area, put it there, and start worshiping it." That's all that they knew. And as this young boy said this to him, his cousins are looking at him and saying, "Wait, what are you doing? First of all, you're ruining our business. And second, this is the only way of life we know. This is the societal norm. So what are you saying?" But the boy wasn't going to be stopped. He said to that elderly man, he said, "Look, you're such an old and wise man, been alive for so many years, and I saw that idol be created a couple days ago. So don't you feel embarrassed rubbing your nose on the ground prostrating before this idol? And when he heard this, that man, he left the idol, didn't buy it. By the way, that young boy was the Prophet Abraham, peace be upon him. Let's move forward. Some time later, there was another boy similar to the Prophet Abraham, peace be upon him. He too was an orphan. His father had died before he was born. So he was made to live with his uncle and his grandfather. Now, I want to paint a picture in your mind. There's a sea of people, thousands of people walking towards one direction. They're all shoulder to shoulder, just walking towards one direction. And amidst these people, you see a young child who's trying to make his way through. But it's harder for him because he's going the opposite direction. And you see this young child walking through this crowd of people, trying to leave. Because that crowd of people is going one way to worship idols. And that young boy, he also felt in his heart that something is off, something is wrong. This is not the way things are supposed to be. So as those people go, as the societal norm goes, he goes against it. Then another part of that society was that every night people would gather and they would party. They would have a good time. There'd be singing, there'd be dancing, there'd be alcohol, there'd be gambling. But again, he felt something was off. So he wouldn't join them. Rather, he would stay on his own, separate from the society, and be lost in his thoughts. Now, people were, kind of confused. They're like, what's wrong with him? They thought something was wrong with him. But then, as they saw that when time progressed, he remained steadfast and remained committed to his way of life. To the point that people started thinking, they're like, wait 1 second, what if he's right and we're wrong? And so people start joining him and his way of life. And more people start joining him. To the point where the higher ranking people of that society, they go to that young man now. And they say, look, we have a way of life. And you're ruining that way of life. Why can't you just comply to the way society is going? You're one man against so many. Just comply and everything will be fine. Everything will be easier for you and us. They said, if you stop living your way of life and start living our way of life, we'll give you whatever you want. You'll become one of the most high-ranking members of our society. You can have all the wealth that you want. You can have anything that your mind can possibly think of. It was at this point that the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that even if you put the sun in my right hand and the moon in my left, I will not stop. They were convicted in what they believed in. There was nothing that could deter them. No societal norm, no trend. There was nothing that was going to stop them for doing what they believed to be right in their heart. But now there's another question that arises, because I've given you the example of two prophets. And you're probably thinking, well, look, they were prophets. They were chosen by God. Look at their rank and look at our rank. I mean, we're nothing compared to them. So how can that example apply to us? We're so weak. We make so many mistakes. Surely the example of a prophet can't apply to us. And this is a very valid question, something that I've also thought of. But Hazrat Muslim Maud Raziyallahu Ta'ala Anhu answers this question in light of the Holy Quran. He says, keeping in mind that humans are weak, if you try the hardest you possibly can to emulate and embody the characteristics of the Holy Prophet ﷺ, then on the Day of Judgment, the Holy Prophet ﷺ will intercede on your behalf, and he will say to God that this person has tried their level best. Because look, there's no denying the fact that we're not perfect. None of us are perfect. And will we ever reach the exact same status as the Holy Prophet ﷺ? No. But how does the saying go? You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. You have to at least try. You have to at least take a step in that direction. Because once you miss your first shot, you might miss your second shot, but you might make the third. Then you might miss the fourth, make the fifth, miss another two, make another three, miss 2, make 5, eventually you're going to start hitting a rhythm. And that's what we need to do. We need to take a step in the right direction. We need to try. We can't just sit at home and be like, well, I'm not good enough. Look at me, I'm such a weak person. I'm such a big sinner. There's no way that I could be of any use there could be any use for me going to a Jamaat event or me becoming an active member of the Jamaat. At least try. And then you'll see how easy it becomes for you. So now let's say, okay, we have pride, we have the passion. But what's with all this, the youth are the future? Why can't we just be proud and passionate of our faith and our Muslim identity and, just do it on our own at an individual level? Why do we have to be the future? The reason is, and Hazrat Muslim Maud also has said that nations cannot be reformed without the reformation of the youth. And the reason he said this is because this is a fact of history. And I want to tell you another story. For this one, we're going to go back to the 1st and 2nd century. At that time, everyone worshipped one God. That was the societal norm. Everyone worshipped one God. Everyone believed in one God and accepted him to be the one and only God. However, as time was changing and as time was progressing, society started changing. People's way of thought started changing. People started believing more in themselves as opposed to God. Now, at this point, people were either worshiping idols or weren't worshiping at all. The society had completely shifted. Now the societal norm was completely different. However, amidst them, there were still some people who believed in one God and kept that unity of God alive within them. But they were worried because the society around them was going in the complete opposite direction, and they were worried that they might start falling into that trap as well. Then what's more, we move forward to the 3rd century in the time of the Roman Emperor Decius. Now he saw that these people are going against the societal norm, right? And so he started torturing them. He said, why can't you just accept the societal norm and follow the wave? So these people had to make a decision. And the decision that they made was that in order to keep the unity of God alive on this earth, they would leave that society. They left that society and they went and started living in caves. And some people say they were there for about 300 years. They started living in caves. They literally brought a death upon themselves. They completely separated themselves from society in order to keep what they believed in alive, the belief in one God. By the way, this story that I just told you, you can find it in chapter 18 of the Holy Quran. These people were known as the Ashab-e-Kahf, the people of the cave. And there's another thing I haven't told you yet, and I'm going to tell you that in the words of the Holy Quran. Chapter 18, verse 11. When the young men betook themselves to the cave and said, O our Lord, bestow on us mercy from thyself, and grant us right guidance in our affair. Chapter 18, verse 14. We will relate to thee their story with truth. They were young men. They were young men who believed in their Lord, and he increased them in guidance. These people were just like you and me. They were the youth. They were so firmly convinced in what they believed in that they were able to take such drastic measures. And there's a reason why God the Almighty has mentioned the youth and gave this opportunity to the youth. Because each and every one of you has the ability within him to have that passion, to have that pride, to have that conviction. But the onus lies on you to channel that. Each and every one of you can make a change, can make a difference. But it's whether you want to make a change or make a difference. You'll be told that you are the future, but it's whether you want to be the future. And look, this community is a divine community. it's going to progress no matter what, by the grace of God. So if you don't step up and don't step forward, it's going to progress. But if you do, it'll help. Not only will it help the community, but it will help you. It will help you achieve that true purpose in life, which I mentioned in the beginning. And for this, you must remember that this is a responsibility given to we, the youth. We, the Ahmadiyya youth. Jazakumullah.
Jazakallah Sarmat Saab, for your wise words. My friends, our next presenter comes all the way from the United States. He's a practicing lawyer, he's a bestseller, and a visiting fellow at Harvard University's Prince Al-Walid bin Talal School of Islamic Studies, and the national spokesperson of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community of the United States of America. So now I would like to request Qasim Rashid Saab to please take the floor.
Jazakumullah. So the Saab for this gracious invitation. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I've been asked to speak on the Khuddam pledge that refers to life, wealth, time, and honor. That I shall always be ready to sacrifice my life, my wealth, my time, and my honor for the sake of my faith, country, and nation. We just repeated this pledge before this session began. And as I thought about how to really emphasize this and make this resonate in a way that was effective for me to understand it, I went back to a story that I learned many years ago in my childhood about a 4-year-old child who was asked to guard some goats. The owner had to run some errands, so he commissioned this 4-year-old child and said to him, "Guard these goats and protect them from any harm, prevent them from going astray until I come back." So this child is guarding these goats, and before long, these bandits show up. Now, the story doesn't say how many bandits, but suffice it to say, there's at least 4 or 5. They've outnumbered him pretty significantly. And they see nobody guarding these goats, so they say, "Great, we get these goats for free." Well, the 4-year-old steps up and says, "Hold on. I'm guarding these goats. You're not allowed to touch these goats." And these bandits are laughing to themselves, like, "Who is this little kid? Thinking he can tell us what to do. We're bandits. We take what we want." But he stayed firm. He refused to budge. The bandits threatened him that, "We can kill you. We can harm you. We can abuse you. We can push you out of the way." But that child remained firm and refused to be moved aside from what he had been commissioned to do. I remember when I first heard this story, I was taken aback as to why was this kid at 4 years old so convinced, so certain, so confident that he was going to guard these goats, to the point that he was even willing to give his life to guard these goats. And for some reason, I remembered this story when I was 16 and I was offered alcohol for the first time. I was at my friend Jeremy's house. He had stolen the alcohol from his parents. They didn't know he had taken it. And I was offered alcohol for the first time. It was only a few weeks later that I was offered to smoke weed for the first time as well. And about a week after that, I learned that a kid just a few lockers down from me in my high school class was dealing cocaine. So if I wanted a hit of cocaine, I now knew where to get it. I was in high school when the internet went viral. So we didn't call it the internet back then. We called it a really dorky name. We called it the information superhighway. Most of you are probably too young to remember that. But it was on this information superhighway that everyone had instant access to every form of vulgarity imaginable. Every type of pornography conceivable was now instantly available. And immediately after that, we learned about things like cyberbullying and online predators and cyberstalking and all the harms that additionally came with that. See, when I grew up in the 1990s, when I was in high school and elementary school and middle school in the 1990s, we would have these old people come talk to us, kind of like how I'm talking to you right now. And they would tell us, you kids have it so easy nowadays. Back in the 50s and 60s, we had it tough. And so I naturally assumed that when I got old, I would talk to kids and say the exact same thing. I would sit there and brag about how tough we had it back in the 90s and how easy you have it now. But now, as I'm in my 30s, nearing my 40s, I look at my life in the 90s and I look at the life that kids today have to deal with, and I can say with certainty that life now is much more difficult than it was back when I was growing up. I look at my children, I look at my young brothers who are entering Khuddamul Ahmadiyya, I look at my brothers who are entering college, and I think of that 4-year-old child. You're the minority in every respect. You're outnumbered. You're outsized. People have more money than you. People have more power than you. They have more influence than you. At a time where children are trying drugs and alcohol at a younger and younger age, where it's easier to access pornography than it is to access the library, where white supremacy is still rising and thriving at unprecedented levels, we know life isn't easy. Throw in the fact that most of you are of color in a society that's still dominated by laws written by racist white men from 100 years ago. Throw in the fact that you're also an Ahmadi Muslim. And we know very well what's happening to our sisters and brothers in countries like Algeria and Pakistan and Bangladesh and Indonesia and Malaysia, and the list goes on and on and on. And so you have all these hurdles that you have to deal with, and then on top of that, you come to the masjid and they say, by the way, we also want you to be ready to sacrifice your life, wealth, time, and honor for the sake of your faith, country, and nation. I remember hearing this, just as Imam Saab pointed out, I remember hearing this growing up time and time again. You're the futures of humanity. Nations cannot be reformed without the reformation of the youth. This was ingrained in us. And I'll be very honest with you, as a teen growing up, it just didn't connect with me. And it bothered me that it didn't connect with me because I saw it connect with other people. I saw the kids that were memorizing the 30th para of the Holy Quran like it was nothing. I saw the kids that had amazing tilawat and could recite any portion of the Holy Quran with the most eloquent voice. I saw the kids getting straight A's in high school effortlessly, getting into the best universities effortlessly. So when I heard these things about you're the future, and I saw my struggles and I saw my weaknesses, it didn't connect. It didn't connect with me until one day I was about 23 years old. And I had just lost my job. I had gone through some very difficult personal family struggles. And I was going to the Qadian Jalsa. I went to the Jalsa. It was a remarkable experience. Got to see Huzur there. But when I returned to Pakistan, and I had the chance to visit the Mong Masjid, which in October 2005 was attacked by members of the Taliban. And they killed 8 Ahmadi Muslims as they offered Fajr prayer. And I visited this masjid just a few weeks after this attack happened. And you could see that the bullet holes were still in the walls. You could see the prayer mats and the blood that had splattered across them. They were still stained. And you could see 8 graves of our fellow brothers who died for the crime of offering Fajr prayer. One of them was only 16 years old. And I met with the family members and the siblings and the mothers and the fathers. And I expected to see people who were bitter and angry and furious. But on the contrary, I saw people who were content and proud and resigned to the will of Allah Ta'ala. I didn't sense any rancor or anger or frustration that why were they being put through this. Instead, I saw people ever ready to sacrifice their life, wealth, time, and honor for the sake of their faith, country, and nation. And that's when I realized that the reason why that didn't resonate with me growing up the way it did with other people is because I hadn't taken the time to make this critical decision. And that's why it took me back to that 4-year-old child. That child had already made a choice that I still hadn't made nearly 20 years older. So that child, I thought back to him, who stood with conviction in front of those bandits who were ready to harm him, who were ready to kill him. Finally, a bandit kneeled down in front of him and said to him, "What's your name?" And the child replied that I am Muhammad from the tribe of Quraysh. And the bandit was taken aback to see such confidence coming from such a small child, such bravery coming from such a small child. And he knew that this child was something special because he had an identity and he had chosen his identity. He had embraced his identity. But the beautiful thing about this story is that that is not where the story ends, that is where the story begins. By the time the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, reached his early 20s, he had established a league of virtuous people called Hilful Fazul. And the purpose of this society was to stand up for the downtrodden, for those who were being persecuted, for those who were suffering, for women who were being abused and denied their rights. He would stand for them. He would sacrifice himself for them. And nearly a half a century after that 4-year-old child stood in front of those bandits, the Prophet found himself at a place called Badr with 300 of his companions, some as young as 15 years old, standing in front of an army of 1,000 well-trained warriors. And at this crucial moment, he prayed to Allah, not for more weapons, not for more power, not for more wealth. He prayed to Allah that if you allow this small band of believers to be wiped from the face of the earth, then who will there be left to worship the unity of God? He had chosen his identity and he had maintained his honor, that I will give everything I have to protect the unity of God. Today, just as the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, exemplified 1400 years ago, our Khalifa, Hazrat Mirza Masroor Ahmad, may Allah strengthen his hands, leads with that same conviction, with that same confidence, with that same certainty. Just as our Prophet was outnumbered and outsized and out-resourced, the critics look at our Khalifa and claim that he is outnumbered and outsized and out-resourced. Indeed, our Khalifa has no worldly power. He sheds worldly power. He has no political office. He sheds political office. He has no worldly weapons. He sheds worldly weapons. Because he realizes that the true strength, the true victory does not come from worldly force, but it comes from those who follow the example of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Those who are ready to sacrifice their life, their wealth, their time, and their honor. But the only way that is conceivable or possible in your lives is if you choose that identity as an Ahmadi Muslim. And it must be a choice. You must choose to sign that bath form. You must choose to do your waqf, whether you're a waqf now or waqf zindagi, or whether you're an office holder. These are choices that you must make. And if you don't believe me, if you think that this is all just theory and rhetoric based on my opinion, I ask you to take a moment and look at the Muslim world right now. Look at the countries that have all the money in the world from oil. Look at the countries that have a historical lineage of support from Western powers. Which one of them is exemplifying a worldwide Muslim community united in peace under one Khalifa appointed by God? Which one of them is stepping up to serve the cause of our sisters and brothers suffering in Palestine or suffering in Myanmar, the Rohingya? Which one of them are stopping the fact that every masjid in Central African Republic has been destroyed and demolished? Which one of them are stepping up for our Chinese Muslim sisters and brothers, the Uyghurs, who are not even allowed to keep fast during Ramadan? Where has that worldly power gotten them? I was reading earlier today that last year 63,000 children in Yemen have died of malnutrition just in the last year alone. Where are these Muslim leaders that claim to have a monopoly on truth, that claim to hold the mantle of Islam? Where are they that claim that the Ahmadiyya Muslim community is a minority and can be ignored? None of them are capable of serving humanity. None of them are capable of sacrificing their life, wealth, time, and honor for the sake of their faith, country, and nation, because none of them understand the message given to us by the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. My brothers, no one is going to come to our aid as Ahmadi Muslims but you. No one will stop the suffering of Ahmadi Muslims in Algeria, in Pakistan, in Bangladesh, in Indonesia, except you. No one has the courage to, and no one has the right to. But most of all, nobody has the leadership showing them the way. So when I say embrace your identity as an Ahmadi Muslim, that means having the courage to push back against the temptations of alcohol, of drugs, of pornography, of things that are detracting you from your true calling of serving all humanity, things that are detracting you from your true identity of followers of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, the seal of the prophets, Hazrat Khuddamul Nabiyyin. May peace and blessings of Allah be upon him. Look to that courage of that 4-year-old child who, even in the face of certain death, was willing to give his life simply because he had made a promise. Look to that Islam revived by the Imam of the age, the promised Messiah, Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad alayhi salatu wasalam. And look to that model of true Islam exemplified by Hazrat Khalifat al-Masih al-Khamis. Understand your identity as an Ahmadi Muslim. Embrace your identity as an Ahmadi Muslim. The only difference that we have today is that while there was a prophet of God who was guarding those sheep, we have a Khalifa who is leading us. But while the prophet was guarding sheep, the Khalifa is not leading sheep, he is leading lions of Allah. That is your identity. I'll close with this. In his farewell address, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, admonished the Muslims to convey his farewell address to those who weren't present. Why? Because he said that perhaps they will understand better than those who have heard this message today. As you sit here right now, I want you to reflect that you are those noble souls that the Prophet spoke of that perhaps may understand this message better than those who were sitting with him at that time. This message of Islam to revive humanity, to establish the unity of God, was meant for you. May Allah enable you to recognize this priceless identity bestowed upon you. May He enable you to push back against the temptations that are preventing you from recognizing your true identity. And may He enable you to become lions of Allah, guided by Hazrat Khalifatul Masih al-Khamis. May Allah strengthen His hands. Jazakallah.
Jazakallah, Qasim Rashid Saab. My friends, we often nowadays hear about the end of the world. We hear about a nuclear war, the World War III, that could wipe out the entire mankind. And it is the truth that recent international developments have created a situation where the world has come to a vulnerable point where a war could be waged at any time. But we believe that this can be avoided. We believe that there's a cure to this chaos. And that is, my friends, of caliphate. Not just any caliphate, a caliphate that stands strongly on the ideals of human rights and justice. A caliphate that strives towards unity, tolerance, and peace among the people. And a khalifa that strives day in and out towards love for all and hatred for none. Exactly what the world needs right now, as we shall witness in a brief video package ahead of us.
When Umar, the second caliph after the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, visited Jerusalem, he happened to be in the city's largest church when the time for prayer had come. At that moment, the bishop offered him the chance to pray in the church. The Caliph Umar replied, "No, for if I pray in this church today, my followers may annex it after I am gone, and no longer able to protect your rights." When caliphate exists on the precepts of justice, consideration for the rights of others, and an overall deep will for peace, as defined by the Quran and the Prophet himself, then caliphate has the ability to serve as a grand force for good in the world.
Well, one of the things I enjoy about coming to the peace symposiums that the Ahmadi community holds is to listen to His Holiness. I always find him inspirational. I think tonight his message was even more important than ever. And I felt the way that he talked about the threat of ISIS in Iraq and Syria, and the way he showed that ISIS has nothing to do with the faith of Islam, I thought was extremely persuasive.
His Holiness gave a speech that was incredibly powerful, that set out all of the claims that violent groups like ISIS made and then totally demolished them in terms of what the Quran actually says. I think for a lot of people sat in the room, it helped them really understand what true Islam is actually about and how this message of peace is really at the heart of it.
But the Holiness, I just thought, it's incredible because all the things he was saying were going through my mind and I could actually relate to nearly everything that he said, which actually I think probably surprised me for some reason. I don't know why. I just found it very, very moving. I'm really pleased I came. I can't say more than that.
He is known by world leaders for his humanitarian efforts and his mission for world peace, anchored by his famous slogan of love for all, hatred for none. He has traveled extensively to spread the message of peace and to remind everyone to respect the rights of other human beings. During these tours, His Holiness has met world leaders from the Far East to Europe, from North America to Africa, discussing the economic, social, and political problems facing the world today and how to create peace and justice in the world. He has also met religious and community leaders in order to share common values and core ideals universal to all religions and cultures, with a view to improving the moral state of mankind and creating an atmosphere of love and affection. From young to old, he compassionately listens to the ordinary man, regardless of race, color, or religion. He has personally initiated social projects and schemes to alleviate poverty and human suffering. His concern is not just about the well-being and moral state of the members of the Ahmadiyya community, but of the great human suffering of mankind at large.
For His Holiness, the slogan, love for all, hatred for none, really comes to life. And I have borne witness to His Holiness waging a jihad of love, opposing the jihad of the sword with the jihad of the pen and of love itself.
And it is an honor to welcome you, Your Holiness. Your leadership has made you a figure of global prominence, and you have become a guide for millions of Muslims worldwide.
Your Holiness, it is undoubtedly a reflection of the blessing that you bring to this capital.
I want to express gratitude for the privilege of appearing here in front of Your Holiness and this assemblage. We're really honored you're here. I was saying earlier that you brought the House and the Senate together. We should have you here more often, and we're grateful.
I would like to pay an additional tribute to the work being done by Ahmadis in raising standards in Africa, and particularly in education.
I was reflecting when I had opportunity to learn more, Your Holiness, about your service, particularly about your contribution to the people of Ghana in the late 1970s and early 80s. And it reminded me of something remarkable that happened here in our great state a few years ago in Death Valley. You may even recall this. In the winter of 2004, there were 7 inches of rain that fell on Death Valley. A few months later, the spring of 2005, the entire valley was carpeted with flowers. And it was just a reminder that Death Valley wasn't dead, it was dormant. It was waiting for the seeds of possibility to be sown. And I think about, Your Holiness, the extraordinary work you did in Ghana, particularly your agricultural commitment, bringing wheat to the people of Ghana. Never been done in the history of that country. You sowed the seeds of possibility, and it's a reminder to all of us as we deal with the issue of ignorance and poverty and disease, as you have committed your life to, that when the right conditions come along, success is irreversible. It's inevitable. Success simply will find its way.
For all the events you go to, you will seldom see the golden key presented. Today you will see the golden key presented to you, Your Holiness.
I've seen 4 keys to the city given out in my 12 years as a city council member, and this is a very special honor indeed that is reserved for the most special of visitors.
This hand shook the hand of His Holiness. I was just thrilled.
Today, this man, Mirza Masroor Ahmad, worldwide head of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community, is the Caliph of Islam. His followers number in the tens of millions, spread over 200 countries across the world, making him the leader of the largest single group of Muslims in the world who follow one Imam. The Caliph, who has spoken at Capitol Hill, the British Parliament, the European Parliament, and has held court with dozens of world leaders, is celebrated as a champion of peace by leaders across the world.
In this, we are allied with His Holiness, a courageous champion of religious freedom and of peace. We especially applaud the Caliphate for denouncing those who pervert faith by claiming it as a justification for violence. However we define God, it is wrong to kill in His name.
Today, when we, the Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamaat, raise the slogan of love for all and hatred for none as a means to establish global peace, we do so directly in fulfillment of the teachings of the Holy Quran and the practice of the Holy Prophet, peace and blessing of Allah be upon him. I will, God willing, always continue to carry out my task and my responsibilities of promoting peace, tolerance, justice, and compassion to the corners of the world. I will continue to tell all people that in order to be relieved of the pain and suffering that we face today, we must adopt true justice and equality.
My friends, our next presenter has been a long-serving member of the Jamaat. He was the president of Khuddamul Ahmadiyya for 6 years, and currently he is the president of Majlis Ansarullah Canada and also Secretary Tarbiyat for Jamaat Ahmadiyya Canada. We'd like to welcome Shahid Mansoor Saab to the floor.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lahu wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. Amma ba'du, fa'uzu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Alhamdulillah, we have gathered here and we have seen such a powerful video message, and we have listened to so eloquent speeches and the talks which we had before. The verse which is recited today in the beginning, the translation of that verse, وَتَسْمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا, hold tight, hold fast to the rope of Allah Ta'ala, all together, and be not divided. So what is meant by be not divided? This is the last message in that verse, but what it takes, what is the reason of division? Why the countries, why the nations, why the families, why the friends, they get divided? What is the reason behind it? If you look at the nations, look at the corporate world, who are competing with each other for the profits, the reason for division is their own sole means and purposes. And sometimes to fulfill those purposes and those desires, they don't care that what is going to happen to their surroundings. There's a very interesting program on TVO. Some years ago, there's a documentary, and there's a series of that documentary, 3 parts of that documentary, the corporation. In that documentary, they compared the status and the thinking pattern of the corporate world to a psychopath. Because a psychopath do not care, and that psychopath don't have the
thinking ability to look beyond. That's how the corporate world is doing. I was just watching the CBC program last night. In the news, there is a documentary which they were showing that how much is a microplastic going into the oceans. And it's been taken by the animals over there and it's destroying the ocean life. So these kind of things, the oil sands which they are processing, that oil sand, the water which they use to process the oil sand goes back into the water mainstream, and the people who are living around those water streams, their percentage of the cancer is on the rise day by day. But who cares? Who cares? Because the economy need to run. Economy need to move fast. Who cares that somebody introduced the video games who kills the policeman? As long as it's generating the profits, nobody cares about that how it's going to affect the soul and spirit of the youngsters. So the time and age in which we are living is very tough. And that's what Qasim Rashid Sahib has mentioned. That's very tough from the time and age when we brought up. The time and age is a time and age of greed. And by all purposes to fulfill their own desire and needs. And that state of mind start causing the all-worthy power within an individual that I know the best and I know better. This is how it is affecting my life also, because I am living in this world. And as soon as some direction comes, I start trying to interpreting that what I understood and what benefits me and what I think. I'm going to present you some of the examples, as I mentioned before, the microplastics, the environment. We had once a Shura proposal, Majlis Shura proposal. It went to Huzur Anwar, and the proposal was that Jamaat-e-Ahmadiyya need to work on the environment, and they need to become in the media and everywhere that we are the ones who are protecting the environment. Huzur Anwar's response was that the real cleansing of the environment belongs to the mind and soul. If we'll start cleaning our mind and soul by relating to the Creator, that would automatically start addressing the environment. That thing will not come in our mind that do I need to turn off the light because the bill will be more, or my father is saying that, but I need to turn off the light because I need to take care of the resources. The resources which is given by the Allah Ta'ala, the bounties which are given by the Allah Ta'ala. I need to take care of them for the future. BBC, they did a research last year, and they said that up to 13 years of age, or I believe 12 years of age, the youth or the tweens who are up to 12 years of age, because of the possession of the phones to them, they have exposed to so much explicit material and pornography that their sense of the intimate relationship is finished. They don't have that sense of intimate relation anymore. So the behavior which we are seeing right now, the homosexuality and the gays and lesbians, that behavior is because of the hippieism culture which was in the 70s. The behavior which is going to be because of what we are doing right now by having that exposure of the pornography and the intimate relationship sense is gone and finished, what are we going to see in the future? And yet, we do remember that Huzur Anwar, they have given the instructions that our children should not have the possession of the phone. And as a National Islahi Committee, we have decided up to grade 10, the children must not have the possession of the phone. But still, we think that we know better. I do have a discussion with some of the members, and I ask them, what is the reason of giving the phone to our youngsters? And the lame excuse which I get from some of the elders, they say, oh, we need to keep the connection with our children. They are going to the schools. What sort of connection? Thousands of years are gone. Just in the last 3-4 years, we do need that sort of connection in the schools, that we cannot live without that. So let's be not divided. Wala tafarraku. This is how the division started happening. Segregation. Segregation of men and women. We might have heard about Donald Trump, that what he has done with the women, and there was a huge outcry in the media that how he has treated the women and his personal comments about the women. Then there was a lady, she tweeted that I have gone through the sexual harassment in my life. Please share your experiences. And there are thousands and thousands of tweets where the ladies have experienced their personal experiences of the sexual harassment. And yet, we say that we do not need segregation. Air India is the first airline who is introducing the ladies-only seats area. India is also introducing, there was a program on the CBC radio a couple of days ago where they have introduced a separate compartments for the ladies in the trains. And just yesterday, 2 days ago when there was an International Women's Day, in CBC the program came that there were women in this room, they are feeling very empowered and they're together. And they're feeling their power within themselves. They're controlling the affairs over there just by themselves. And that's what Hazur Anwar has mentioned in one of the media conference after the Jalsa Salana UK, where one of the lady have asked that why you are segregating the ladies and the men. And then Hazur Anwar has told her to go and experience, and that lady came back and told Hazur Anwar that I have experienced a very different state of affairs when I went to the ladies' side of the Jalsa Salana, that they are so much empowered and they feel relaxed and they can do their duties so well and organized. So that's what Hazur Anwar is saying. The world is experiencing that, but yet we think that we do not need to offer proper parda. Let's be not divided. Wala tafarraqu. The point which I'm trying to make over here, there were civilizations who came before us. We can open the Holy Quran, we can Google it. There were civilizations who came, and the civilizations which were destroyed because they had not coped with the challenges of that time. They have destroyed, and sometimes that destruction is self-inherited. And that destruction which we are facing right now in this world, where the countries and the nations and the families, they have the hatred with each other, they are getting divided day in, day out. They have no peace within themselves. And they are looking for the divine power which can guide them. And we are so fortunate to have that divine power, and still we think that we have the second opinion. Still we think that our minds and souls are much better thinker than the direction of the Khalifa Waqt. Look at the state of time of Hazrat Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. When the instruction came to Sahaba that drinking is forbidden, drinking alcohol is forbidden. They used to drink alcohol before. But as soon as the instruction came, they have not gone to verify that instruction, that whether that instruction is valid or not. They just broke the pitchers of the alcohol in their houses. That's how, and that's why the peace came in their life. They did not run after the wealth. They did not run after the degrees. They just ran after the faith which can create the peace within themselves. Ala bi zikrillahi tatma'innul qulub. Just the remembrance of Allah is the only way to create the peace in the heart. No other way. No matter what we do, no matter how noble we do things on the surface, if there isn't anything behind it which is taqwa, which is based on Allah Ta'ala, then there will be no result. I do say to our meetings, to Ansarullah or Tarbiyat meetings, that we create a jalsa, very interesting, beautiful setup. The volunteers, elders, youngsters, they stayed up until 2 a.m. in the morning. They did a beautiful setup. MashaAllah, beautiful setup. Next day, everybody is saying, what a nice setup, but nobody of them came for the Fajr prayer. What is the point of doing that setup? And this is a question to me also. Why I am not bearing results when I'm doing tabligh or tarbiyat? Look at the Murabbiyan, the first one who came to North America, who have no knowledge of the language also, but look at their dedication to the Khalifa Waqt. Let's be not divided. Wala tafarraku. That their voice has such a power that voice have melted the hearts. Look at the Khalifa Waqt, such a simple message. Look what we have seen in the video. The people are getting attracted towards that message. And how unfortunate will we be if we will not listen? Let's be not divided. Wala tafarraku. You know, the people are coming. The Allah Ta'ala promised to us, to this Jamaat, the civilizations were destroyed, but this Jamaat will be secured in the future. That's a promise of Allah Ta'ala. But the question to myself is, the Jamaat will be secured, but as an individual, will I be or my future generation? That's the question which I need to ask to myself. And if we'll keep on questioning and thinking about the direction of Khalifatul Masih, then there is no guarantee of me. But the Jamaat will secure. That is the sustaining fashion to stay. And in the end, I'm going to narrate a very interesting story which I narrated a couple of weeks ago in a program with Peace Village. That story is so heartwarming that will tell us, and all of the attributes which needs to be done are covered in that story of a new convert, an Afro-American in the United States of America. I would love to read his story instead of telling it myself, because that is such a strong influence if I read his own words. The name of that Afro-American is Hamza Abd al-Qadir Ilyas from New York. He says that after the American Ahmadiyya Muslim Convention in 2004, my firm merged and I lost my job. So he has converted. And look at the first thing which he got after the conversion, he lost a job. I dedicated my time, so what he has done after losing the job, I dedicated my time to study the Quran, Hadith, and any of the book of the promised Messiah, and that of his Khulafa that I could acquire. I met the Khalifa again at the Canadian Convention for the following year. When he saw me, he remembered me from the previous year. Imam Daud Hanif introduced me as a new convert. His Holiness replied, and he has predicted, His Holiness replied that when I meet you in your third year, that he has said, Hazur, that when I meet you in third year, you will no longer be a new convert. So Hazur has told him that I'm going to meet you. But nobody knew that there is an arrangement. So he'll tell that how is that prediction and the words of His Holiness got fulfilled later on in this story. Then he says that now I had been out of work for nearly 2 years and unable to secure any kind of work. Though not accepted to Jamia due to my age, I prayed to Allah Ta'ala that He would that He would help me help His community in whatever way pleased Him. Though not accepted to Jamia due to my age, I prayed to Allah Ta'ala that He would help me help His community in whatever way pleased Him. I spent my free time studying and keeping company with Imam Inamul Kausar. By the grace of Allah Ta'ala, on January 9th, 2006, we established a mosque in Bronx, New York. My wife had difficulty adjusting to the change in our lifestyle until finally I was asked to choose, and I choose Islam. So her wife, who was not Ahmadi, she has asked him what you are going to choose between me and the religion. And he has chosen Islam. So he has lost the job, has lost the wife. This left me homeless. I spent part of the day driving a New York taxi yellow cab and the other wandering the city, sleeping where I could. It never occurred to me that there was any other choice. I kept a copy of the Holy Quran, a slim book of hadith, and 2 books of the promised Messiah on my person. On many occasions, I would see the Khalifa in my dreams, reassuring me. After about 7 or 8 months, I was asked to be the caretaker at my beloved Bronx mosque. I happily agreed. On many occasions, I would see the Khalifa in my dreams, reassuring me. And then, after 1 month later, so there is already almost 3 years, after 1 month later, I was offered a position as a VP at a large bank, vice president at a large bank. That summer in 2007, I remarried and moved to Brooklyn. As quickly as I could, I hired an attorney and legally changed my name to the name given to me by the Khalifa, Abd al-Qadir Jilani. As it turned out, that this was my 3rd year as an Ahmadi Muslim, I received a call from a brother who was putting together a delegation to meet the Khalifa at the UK convention. Thus, the Khalifa's words to me at the 2005 Canadian convention rang true. And all praise belongs to Allah alone. May Allah help my family and me serve Islam Ahmadiyyat. Help us act upon the teachings of the Holy Quran and share his Khalifa and his community in his love and protection. So these are the souls which are coming under the fold of Islam Ahmadiyyat. The question which I need to ask, that I need to be better than the people living around me to have the successful tabligh. There are so many good attributes which are in the people who are living in this community. I need to be more truthful and honest. In order to attain those attributes, the last request which I want to make is keep on listening all sermons and Friday sermons and the addresses of Huzur Anwar. And we should gush, we should run towards obeying those instructions and making them the part of our life, like the Sahaba, like the companions of Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the way they broke the pitchers of the alcohol. May Allah enable me and all of us to do so.
Jazakallah Shahid Mansoor Sahab. Now we shall be initiating our question and answer session. So I would request our friends here in Baitul Islam to get their questions ready for the speakers. And I would also like to request Mohtaram respected Maulana Mubarak Nazir Sahab to please, and Sayyid Khuddamul to please approach the front. Jazakallah. Yes.
अस्सलाम वालेकुम जी, सवाल ये है कि ये अक्सर स्कूल में लोग आए होते हैं, इनसे लाइक ऐसे काइंड के लोग होते हैं जो जिनकी ज़हनियत अच्छी नहीं होती, तो उनसे कैसे बचा जा सकता है?
Who are you asking this question?
जिनकी जहनियत अच्छी नहीं होती तो उनसे कैसे बचा जा सकता?
Sorry, is this a question for Shahid Mansoor Sahab?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is it me? You put me on the spot. How? What do you think? What is your idea? Give your idea. I need you to spark your thinking first.
Tell him that's not real thing.
करीब आए उधर उसके माइक के करीब.
Tell them that's not good thing.
Tell them, and it's a very important thing, it takes a lot of courage. So I want to translate the question first, that how one can be saved from those people who have not good thinking or good intentions. And then what you have answered is that tell them that your thinking, what you are thinking is not right. And it takes a lot of courage, by the way. If you can tell that, you are so brave, and Allah Ta'ala will help you. But you need to pray. Pray for them. Pray for them. Because you want to, Hazrat Masih Maud said that if that a person, if he's drunk and he's into the, gutter, into the dirty water, I will pick him up. I'll bring him to the home. I'll clean him up. And I'll pray for him. So we are not going to hate the people. We are going to hate the ill thinking. And for that, we need to pray, and we need to tell, and if we can, we need to try to convince him and need to do good things so that he can be convinced. So that is why, and anybody else want to please?
The remedy has been stated in the Holy Quran. Kunu ma sadiqeen. Stay with the people who are truthful. So you have this challenge, and in one of our vernaculars, जो बैठोगे तुम आग के पास जाकर तो उठोगे एक दिन कपड़े जलाकर. If you sit down with people who are playing with fire, one day your clothes will also be on fire. So it's a challenge, it's a jihad, it's a holy war, that you keep away from such bad company. And that is what we all the time we are being told by Hazur and by Hazrat Masih Maud, by the Holy Prophet, by the Holy Quran, that ward away, keep away from bad company. Those who are trying to put a bad influence over you, you should try to keep away from them, and always seek the help of Allah. Seek the help of Allah. It's not possible. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. God is watching me. And you should, this is one of the remedies. And I have used this remedy many, many times. I have passed through the same stream. I have been in Africa, and I passed through students, who were extremely rough. So the most important thing is that you ask the help of Allah. Seek the help of Allah. Write to Hazur all the time. Okay. That this is my problem. So may Allah Ta'ala bless you. Thank you very much.
Jazakallah.
The common point here is that prayers are very important in any matter, any problem that we are facing. The next question, please.
Assalamu alaikum. Before I ask my question, I'd like to provide some context. In this day and age, Islam is demonized in a sense where people sustain a mainstream view of Muslims as those who think only of integrating Western culture into a more Islamic culture, along with the fallacy that this will be done through unpleasant means. I think there is often notoriety associated with views that come from certain authorities on social media. So to combat these preconceived notions, would you think it is wise for Ahmadis to have an active presence on social media to educate those people and to contribute to the conversations when Islam is brought up into the spotlight? Jazakallah.
That's exactly what Qasim is doing, going on the media and showing the true picture of Islam. Mm-hmm. And as I said earlier, it's a jihad. And the Hazrat Masih Maud has come particularly for this, that Islam has been corrupted. Look at what's happening all over the Middle East. Kalma go, killing Kalma go. Look at what's happening in Yemen. Look at what's happening in Saudi Arabia. It's now the ball is in your court, the ball is in my court, that we have to show the true face of the Holy Prophet, the true face of Islam. Well, this is the jihad. You're all soldiers. You're all foot soldiers in that you show. Study the Holy Quran. Study the books of the Prophet Messiah. Study the sayings of the Holy Prophet. This is your sword which will cut both ways. Nobody can stand against that. And so, unfortunately, this is what's happening. And this is our time. This is your time. That you should wake up and hold the flag of true Islam.
And I just want to, because that could be preconceived that I have answered, I have put some remarks for the phone possession for the youngsters, for the school-going children. So for the university and the elders who are in the job area, Hazur Anwar has also mentioned that there is a structured way of doing this through the media teams, through official web pages and Facebook connections and all those things. So that is what is being done, and through the structured way, that is what is the difference between us and others. That we are very structured and we work together. A small effort works so much big and looks so big because we are very structured and organized. And most important of it, it's blessed by the Allah Ta'ala and by the Khilafat. So that is the reason how it becomes successful and becomes so prominent. A small, meek effort becomes so prominent in the whole world. Want to add on that?
No, it's very eloquently said. I would just, one thing I would add is, there's a saying in English that you don't bring a knife to a gunfight. That when people are fighting with guns and you bring a knife, you're going to get killed immediately. And the way that translates to social media is people have a lot of zeal to go and get into debates and into arguments, and they haven't read a single book of the Prophet ﷺ. And I think if you're serious about this, if you're serious about doing tabligh on social media, if you're serious about utilizing these tools that Allah Ta'ala has created for us to advance the message of Islam and Ahmadiyyat, then the worst thing you can do is to go on social media and start tweeting things or saying things simply because that's what you've been taught. The Prophet ﷺ says that to truly find God, you must first forget everything you know, start with a clean slate, and truly study the Quran and the books of the Prophet ﷺ. If you don't read Urdu, you should have read every single English book on Al-Islam, of the Prophet ﷺ, of the Khulafa, and there's several hundred. And then read them again, and then read them a third time. You should be studying the Quran on a daily basis. Once you've done that, then you're in a position where you can engage in these debates and these kinds of conversations with confidence. But it's a fool's game to jump into these things without preparing yourself, because it's easy to embarrass yourself, it's easy to harm yourself, and it's easy to do more damage than good.
Jazakallah. Jazakallah. The third question. Anyone from that side? Anyone from this side? Yes, please.
My question was that when we're told to do Jamaat work, we're said that you shouldn't count how many hours you've been doing that for, or you shouldn't look that you shouldn't basically count for that you've been doing Jamaat work for this much time, right? But when we're sitting for tasbihat, why do we count at that time?
Interesting question.
तस्बीहात तो काउंट करके करते हैं, लेकिन जो जमाती काम कर रहे हैं तो हम कहते हैं काउंटलेस आवर्स के लिए करें, इस वक्त काउंट क्यों नहीं करते?
Qasim, आप जवाब दें.
So make sure I understand your question properly, that when we're doing Jamaat work, we're told not to count those hours.
Yeah.
But for what purposes we count them?
For when we're doing tasbihat, right? We count them on our fingers that
Well, I think the short answer, and Master, keep me honest on this, the short answer is that the hadith, when this was taught by the Holy Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, was that a poor companion was pained, if you will, that he could not earn the reward of Allah because he couldn't give as much financially. And so he couldn't win the blessing of Allah, or he couldn't win the recognition from Allah accordingly. And so the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ told him that Allah Ta'ala looks at your heart, and Allah Ta'ala rewards those who remember Him. And he taught this particular sunnah of tasbihat after salat as an extra remembrance of Allah Ta'ala, for which those who engage in it sincerely, that Allah Ta'ala will reward them in a similar manner, even if they cannot give the financial sacrifice that the more wealthy companions could. That's my very simple understanding of it. Of course, Islam teaches Zikrullahi Akbar, that remembrance of Allah is the greatest virtue. So in effect, this is to advance this concept of God consciousness. And on a deeper level, when we look at what the root cause of every sin, of every vice is, it stems down, this is what Prophet ﷺ writes in How to Be Free of Sin, that every sin is a form of shirk. It's a form of denying the existence of God. And the example that the Prophet ﷺ gives, one of the examples, is that if you tell somebody that this hole in the ground has a snake in it, then what fool would put their hand in that hole? Because they know full well that they will be bitten by that snake. That when we commit sin, we forget that Allah is watching and that Allah can hold us accountable at that very second. If we knew that by committing a sin we'd be immediately held accountable, very few people would commit sin in that regard. And so what Zikrullahi Akbar, what God consciousness, what things like tasbihat teach us, is to maintain that God consciousness and avoid sin altogether. And in doing that, engaging in that great virtue of remembering Allah Ta'ala, then Allah Ta'ala rewards us and blesses us, even if we're not able to make the financial sacrifice, but because our niyat is there, and we supplement that niyat with this action of Zikrullahi Akbar, then we can gain that same type of reward.
The tasbihat, is you count them. That's the minimum number. Otherwise, while you are traveling, you are going to school, coming back, you should continue reciting some prayers. Then you see that Allah Ta'ala will also give you without counting. He will give you so much so that you will not be able to hold on to it. So if you do it countless times, driving, I always drive, we all drive. And we always, recite the name of Allah Ta'ala, Subhanallah wa bihamdihi, Subhanallah al-Azim, Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Muhammad. Countless number of times. Allah Ta'ala protects you. He stands at your back. Your enemy attacks you, you are sleeping and God is awake. He takes care of you. So the more you remember Allah, the more you call the name of Allah, the more you show your love for the sake of the Holy Prophet, Allah Ta'ala will grant you abundance of good. That is why it's there in the Holy Quran, that I will grant you abundance of good. So you are youngsters, it's an excellent opportunity. And this prayer was just read, Rabbana Atena fi dunya hasanatam, wa fil akhirati hasanatam, wa qina azaban nar. So inshallah ta'ala, you children are our hope, are our tomorrow. So if you recite and you show your love for the sake of Allah, you will see that you will rise. And by the grace of Allah, there is a genie hidden in you. Unless you rub that bottle so that the genie comes out. Right?
Jazakallah. I believe we have our next question is from Edmonton. All right. I think we'll take that question later. Let's go ahead.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Mazhar Iqbal. My family is actually watching at home, and my sister just texted me. She asked me to ask Qasim Rashid Saab a question. She said that you said this generation is probably harder than his own of the 90s. What is one practical way to avoid these problems or get away from them to avoid harm?
I've thought about this at great length, and my mind continues to come back to this fundamental two-word phrase, and that is that leadership matters. That ultimately, if you want to safeguard yourself against the harms of this society and ensure your own success, it is maintaining a relationship with Khalifatul Masih. It is through that relationship that you can strengthen your relationship with Allah Ta'ala, that you can align what your goals and purposes are. But maintaining a strong relationship with Khalifatul Masih is what separates the Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamaat from every other community of Muslims in the world. Khilafat is that gem, that promise of the second manifestation of Allah that's been the sunnah of Allah throughout the history of prophets. And it's something promised in the Holy Quran as well, that those who believe and do good works, Allah Ta'ala will make successors of them as He made successors of those before. So I think that if you go a week without writing a letter to Huzur, you should consider it a personal failing. That you should be writing to Huzur every single week. And whether Huzur writes back or not, that's not your concern. Your concern should be that you're writing to Huzur every single week seeking his prayers, because he prays for every Ahmadi, whether the letter comes back or not, whether the letter's been received or not, he prays for them. So if you can make that your priority, every child in here, every young person in here, make that your priority, that you're relentlessly making this connection with Huzur. Allah Ta'ala has blessed Huzur with an amazing ability to remember incredible details and an incredible amount of information. And there's immense barakat in having Huzur pray for you and pray for your success. So if you can just change one thing, maintain your prayers, maintain your chanda, maintain everything else, but if you can just change this one thing, that make your relationship with Khilafat unbreakable. As respected Sadr Sahib said, hold fast to that rope of Allah. Make that relationship unbreakable. That is going to be your shield to the harms of this society.
Jazakallah.
Jazakallah. I will be taking our last question for tonight. Please.
बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम अस्सलाम वालेकुम। मेरा सवाल है कि पाकिस्तानी हुकूमत ने जमात अहमदिया को गैर मुस्लिम करार क्यों दिया?
पाकिस्तान की गवर्नमेंट ने पाकिस्तानी अहमदियों को गैर मुस्लिम करार दिया।
The question was that why the Pakistani government has declared Ahmadiyya Jamaat non-Muslim. So,
it's an indication that they have no answer. This is an avalanche. This is a tsunami. And they're afraid that it's taking over. It's written on the wall. By declaring the Ahmadis non-Muslims, look at what has happened. Look at the condition of the Jamaat. In 1974, look at the condition of the Jamaat now. Huzur used to give sermons, people 1,000, 1,500 in Masjid Aqsa, in Jummah, and this was against their feelings. And now the Khalifa thunders, and millions listen, gone to their homes. Look at the result. وَمَكَرُوا وَمَكَرَ اللَّهِ وَاللَّهُ خَيْرُ الْمَاكِرِينَ. They make a plan. Allah makes a plan. And Allah is the best planner. So that's what they have done. They have actually accepted the defeat. They have virtually, and now they are talking it on the TV in different programs, that we cannot stem the tide. We cannot stop them. They are unstoppable. We stop them one place, they go 100. They kill one doctor, we produce hundreds of doctors. That is our sweet revenge. They break one mosque, we build 300 mosques all over the world. That is, that is our sweet revenge. And you are the children who will take revenge. And our revenge is that we will become better people, better human beings, better law-abiding people, that we will become like an example. People should know that this boy is different from the others. This boy, why is he different? Brought up in Canada, saw all the Google, saw all the programs on the dirty programs. Why is this boy different? That is the best tabligh that you guys can make, that people should inquire. Are these aliens living here? Having all the things, you have a laptop and you can go anywhere you like. Why are they different? Which medicine have they drunk? Which elixir, which wine they have been intoxicated? They have been intoxicated in the love of Allah Ta'ala. So that's my son, that's, my grandson. That is, our objective. Forget about these people. They are the losers. They have now accepted. And now you should be worried, I am worried, that people are going to join the Jamaat-e-Ahmadiyya in large numbers, in armies. Are we prepared to handle them? Are we prepared to take care of them? Have we got enough Jamia students? Yesterday, what was Hazur saying in the khutbah? That you should become missionaries. You should become the flag holders. So that is the challenge before you. The world is wide open. And now it's our time. Right?
Yes, exactly.
I hope I have not given a long lecture.
Jazakallah works up. Now we actually be taking our last question. This question is for Edmonton.
Assalamualaikum.
Walaikum salam. Please go ahead.
जी, Assalamualaikum. मेरा नाम है तस्मीर अहमद। We are from Edmonton. I'm from Edmonton West, and there is more from Edmonton East. I'm a student at the University of Alberta studying third year of my civil engineering. My question is pretty simple. Question is that what career should an Ahmadi pursue following to a career of a murabi or a medical doctor? Jazakallah.
The question was, what career should an Ahmadi pursue? What question? What career should an Ahmadi pursue?
Yeah, if you are, we need doctors. We need scientists. How long are we going to talk about Dr. Abdul Salam? 1976. We need Zafrullahs. We need scholars in every field. وَجَعَلُ الَّذِينَ تَبَوْكَ فَوْقَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا إِلَى يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ was revealed to Hazrat Masih Maud countless number of times. Members of your community will always excel others in everything that is good. So you have the field wide open. Which prophecy of Hazrat Masih Maud was there which was not fulfilled? This prophecy is also going to be fulfilled. So go to different fields, write to Hazur for his guidance. We need journalists. Look at this, young Qasim sitting over here. You go to the CNN or you go to Fox News. This young man is there. How does he do that? So you have a lot of fields. We need, as I said, we need engineers, we need surveyors, we need doctors, we need engineers, we need people in the medical field, nurses. So this is, all the fields are wide open, and if you are a waqf no child, write to Huzur. You have dedicated your life. Your life is not yours anymore. I have dedicated my life. It's not my life. I have sold out. I am already sold out. Write to Huzur. I write to Huzur all the time. You write to Huzur for guidance, for prayers. So this is, you go to any field, but always take the guidance, because Huzur looks at the picture, at a broader picture, with a wide angle. And he gets letters from all over the world. He's aware of what are the current requirements. So always write to him for guidance.
Jazakallah works up. Now we shall be going to our concluding remarks and followed by dua. So, Sab.
Now I invite respected Maulana Mubarak Nazir Sahib for concluding remarks.
At the start of I am a student. The Holy Prophet said that you are a student from the cradle to the grave. Forget about my gray hair. I'm a student. I was a student yesterday. I'm a student today. Even today I went and learned a new word in English. I looked at the dictionary. I learned a new word in Urdu. I went to the MTA. I had a lot of knowledge. And I'll be a student tomorrow. I was a student, student talk. I was in your age, and I was in Rabwa. I was studying in Talimul Islam College. And I was in my final year of BSc. But I was very weak in chemistry. It was very difficult for me. Chemistry was difficult. The formulas and reminding all the... So I went to Maulvi Raji Sahib, Darul Rahmat in Rabwa. I knocked at his door. And Maulvi Sahib invited me in, and I sat down. I said, Maulvi Sahib, my memory is weak. I have got an examination for my bachelor in science in physics and chemistry, but my memory is weak. He said, if you want to improve your memory, learn the Qasida. He said, Qasida, that is what Hazrat Masih Maud said, it will enhance your memory. So I came back, left my chemistry books, started learning the Qasida. The examination was near. मेरी वालदा घबरा कर कहा करती थी मुबारक इम्तिहान नज़दीक है किताबां तू बहुत घट पढ़ना है वो कसीदा चुकी फिरने the books are you don't read the books very often, you are only learning qasida. And I was reciting in the house la ya ina fazillah wal irfani ya sa'alaik al khalq ka zamani ya sayyidi qad jitu babaka lahifan wal qawm bil ikfar kadazani. My mother was obviously worried. Somehow I memorized 70 verses. Two things happened. In fact, three things happened. One, my memory improved. The second thing that happened was that the love of the Holy Prophet was ingrained into my being. I thought it was hammered into my bosom. The love of the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I saw the Holy Prophet from a different dimension. The third thing that happened, I passed easily my BSc examination. Look, my dear children, you are our tomorrow. In our time, it was very difficult. In your time, it's become so easy. You can become a doctor by going to Google. Hazrat Muslim Maud used to say, and you have read it many, many times, and we always recite this poem, "No Halane Jamaat, mujhe kuch kehna hai." And one of the couplets that really is very touching. हम तो जैसे भी बने काम किए जाते हैं, आपके वक्त में ये सिलसिला बदनाम ना हो. Look, we are trying as best as we can to continue this work, but I pray that in your time, the Jamaat should not be under, should not have any disgrace. The Jamaat should not be put under any disrepute. So this is the challenge for you. The elders are going. The baton is already been handed over to you. We are not in the process of handing over the baton. You have already handled the baton. Let's see how you run your lap. We try to run our lap. Maybe we did not run as fast as we should have, but the baton is in your hand now. You are responsible. The ball is in your court. The ball is in your D. You don't score, Allah will bring another nation. Because the Holy Hazrat Masih Maud has said, "Qazaye asma asti, bahar halat shivat paida." Whatever you like, this Jamaat is going to prosper. If you don't come forward, God will bring another generation. And Hazrat Muslim Maud also used to say, "Mere pyare dosto, tum dam na lena jab talak, sari duniya mein na lehraye levaye Qadiyan." That, oh my friends, you should never take rest until the flag of Ahmadiyya, the flag of Islam. When we say the flag of Qadian, it's the flag of Islam, the flag of Ahmadiyya. Until the flag is hoisted in all over the world, you should never take rest. This is the task. This is the momentous task. This is the task that stares in your eyes. You have to answer this task. My dear children, if you mix up with the crowd and go to all the different, filthy sites, and you try to go over here, lost cause. Allah Ta'ala has said in the Holy Quran that you have to give account of your ears, but you listened. Allah Ta'ala has said in the Holy Quran that you have to give account of your ears. You have to give account of your eyes. What do you see? You have to give account of your heart. What do you think about it? Look, we drive on the road, and whenever there's a policeman, we slow down because of accountability. He has a ticket, pack of tickets with him. We slow down. Why? Afraid of accountability. But here God says, when you come to me, there is a day of accountability. Malik Yawmiddin. You have to give evidence of what you heard. What you should not have heard, but you heard. You should not have seen those things, but you went on, wasting your time on filth and dirt. And some of you, your heart. So this is the challenge before our youth and before our children tomorrow. Otherwise, it's a losing battle, God forbid, and we are confident. Look, the secret of our success is holding on to the rope of Allah Ta'ala. And the rope of Allah Ta'ala is the Khilafat Ahmadiyya. So always hold the rope of Khilafat tight. And have no fear, come what might. Just hold on to that rope. They did not hold on to the rope of Khilafat tight, and the Khilafat was taken away from the Muslims. And it's a long story of agony and pain. that rope has again been lowered. So cling on to that rope. Together. وَاعْتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا का है ना? Hold on to that rope collectively. And that is, what we are trying and what you are trying to achieve. And I'm so impressed that so late in the night you are sitting over here, March break, and people want to go to there and want to go there, and you have come over here to listen to some of our speeches. These three youngsters, these scholars, have given you what they think, and tomorrow you have to come over here, sit on these chairs, and you are are you prepared? Are you ready? We need Nuruddins. We need Abdul Salams. We need Zafrullahs. We need MBI Ahmad Sahib. We need Rajaki Sahib. We need Bakapuri Sahib. We need Moli Abulata Sahib. We need Shammas Sahib. Those scholars are hidden in you. You have the potential. You have the capacity. Unless you tap it, it will not come out. So may Allah Ta'ala richly bless you, and may Allah Ta'ala reward you. And on my humble behalf and on behalf of Majlis Khuddamul Ahmadiyya, I thank my scholars, but in particular I must thank you. And I must thank our Sadr Sahib for having given us the opportunity that we should also prepare ourselves to drink from the fountain of Khilafat, to come under the threshold of Khilafat, to come under the umbrella of Khilafat, to listen to his Friday sermons. Not only the summary is no alternative. Listen to that. Listen to the translations. Translations are not real. Learn Urdu if you want to really enjoy. May Allah Ta'ala bless you. Jazakallah. Assalamu alaikum.
Now we will repeat Pledge of Khuddamul Ahmadiyya one more time. I was told by MTA team that it was not recorded properly, and then we'll have silent prayers. So please stand up for the pledge. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallahu wahdahu la sharika lahu wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallahu wahdahu la sharika lahu wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallahu wahdahu la sharika lahu wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. I bear witness that there is none worthy of worship except Allah. He is one and has no partner. And I also bear witness that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is his servant and his messenger. I solemnly pledge that I shall always be ready to sacrifice my life, wealth, time, and honor for the sake of my faith, country, and nation. Likewise, I shall be ready to offer any sacrifice for guarding the institution of Khilafat-e-Ahmadiyya. Moreover, I shall deem it essential to abide by any maroof decision made by Khalifatul Masih. Inshallah. Please be seated. Now I request respected Maulana Mubarak Nazir Sahib to lead us in silent prayers.
Please join me in prayers. Allahumma ameen.
बहुत शुक्रिया
Jazakallah, everyone. I would like to thank you, Sada Saab, and to our speakers, and to the participants of the Tarbiti camp, and Khuddam who came, and those who joined us online live from Calgary and Edmonton and elsewhere. Thank you very much. And until next time, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.